Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Lethal Sales. I'm Rhonda. I'm not going to make a joke this week. I'm still Rhonda. Um, our hosts are Larry Feldman and Brian Maxwell, and our guests tonight are Jeffrey and Jeffrey Scherer. Is that right?
Yeah.
And Harry Wilner. We may get some more people popping in along the way, but our topic tonight is what is leadership? And Larry, you want to take it away?
Sure. First of all, congratulations on your nuptials, Brian Maxwell. We didn't see the big guy for the last couple of weeks. He was taking care of business and reuniting in blissful matrimony. Did I read that off the card right, Brian?
You got that exactly right, man. Thank you. That's good money spent.
No problem. Last week and the week before, we engaged in multiple ways to increase your sales. But I think in light of all the gyrations that the car business and all businesses are going through, and the unbelievably turbulent problems we're having as a country, with the weaponization of the Justice Department and all the rest of it, we wanted to engage in a discussion of what is leadership. We'll start with my good and great and now a recently betrothed friend, Brian Maxwell. Brian, good to see you back. And do you have some thoughts as to what is leadership or who is leadership or how does it manifest itself?
I do.
And then we are going to get opinions from Harry and Jeff and anybody else brave enough to join us.
Okay, thanks, Larry. I appreciate it and appreciate you for congratulating me on getting married. I do.
Notice I didn't congratulate your wife.
And she's the luckiest out the bunch,
There we go.
But I'm training at a Nissan store in Gainesville, and it's funny that when I saw this was the topic, it was appropriate. We were having a discussion about that today because I was listening to some of the sales reps, and they were saying how they want to be in management. And then when I was meeting with some of the people that were coming in, asking them, what was their goals in a year, 5 years, I noticed how many people were saying they wanted to be in management. So I had them all in a group today, and I said, what type of psycho person asked to be a manager? I said, matter of fact, whenever I hear somebody tell me that they want to be a manager, I'm extremely leery about putting that person in a leadership position. Because in my opinion, in my humble opinion, leadership is something that you don't ask for. It's just by being who you are and other people finding value in what you do and how you live and and how you perform, that they want to follow that really dictates a leader. And I think right now we have too many people that are self-appointed leaders and self-appointed gurus, and that are seeking that out. When I feel just a true leader is not somebody that's seeking it out. It's just being who they are, doing the right thing, being the right person. And like I say, other people following. It's like leading a sales team. I believe a manager is somebody that tells people what to do, and they do it when they're being watched. They tell them to do what they need to do because they said so. A good leader is somebody that motivates, inspires, and educates people to do what they need to do because it's right and because it's beneficial. Not because I say so, but because here's how it benefits you. So I think that leaders are appointed, not rather than self-appointed, should I say? If that answers.
Well, I think you're onto something there because aspiring to leadership is a wonderful thing. Wanting to push people and help lead people and set an example. But what's so sad in today's society is how many people don't grasp what's involved in it and the responsibility of it and want to assume that responsibility. It's like everybody wants to get rich today, but like most of them just want to hit the lottery. They don't understand the concept and the gratification of work, how good it feels to say, I accomplished something. Everybody's either knows somebody tragically or has seen a story, incredibly wealthy family, and the teenager kills himself. And you think, man, driving a Porsche, they're living in a $9 million, what are they complaining about? But man, I always tie it into music. I'm going back to Billie Holiday, God bless the child that's got its own. Saying, I achieved this, I did this, I accomplished it, means everything. And so many people just, it's that the hurry to the top. I want to be the boss. I want to be this. I tell them all the time, probably you do too, Brian. I mean, you're already the boss. You're the boss of your own company with no debt service. Yeah. Let's see what you do with that rather than trying to lead a bunch of people and go in that direction. We have two erstwhile gentlemen that have joined already. Jeff and Harry, who both have proven leadership when they were incarcerated. I understood you did wonderful jobs in prison, rallying the troops, hiding the shiv, as you once told me, Jeff, when you were drunk. So Jeff and Harry, let's get a little. Oh, and our buddy Don Graff just joined us.
Well, hey, how you doing? How you doing?
Hey, what's
Don,
up,
we're
Don?
doing we're doing great. We're talking about leadership. We're going to get some input from Jeff and Harry, and then we're definitely going to get some some input from you. Jeff, tell us some instances, because I have a bunch in my brain of great leadership. What you've seen, what you think it is, who's inspired you, and then we'll jump to Harry and Mr. Graff.
Well, I'm going to use a different musical reference in my head. So I'm going to go with Creedence Clearwater Revival with Fortunate Son. So same thing. But, you know, think about the car business. And Derek and I were just talking about this earlier. They promote people because they're good in sales. You know, they're making money for the company. So who becomes the next GSM? Well, they take the best sales guy off the floor. You know, has no management skills, probably doesn't have leadership skills. But as you were saying that, Larry, I was thinking, you know, that leadership and management don't necessarily go hand in hand. You know,
Are you talking about the Peter Principle, where people fail up? Because I
Okay.
noticed behind you, you have a framed picture of Gavin Newsom, who's a classic case of I destroyed one city. Let me govern the whole damn state. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get political. Brian is a ventriloquist, and obviously I'm a dummy, so it just came out of my mouth.
No, just
Yeah, that's what I meant. Sure.
I'm with Jeff 100%. Again, it's what are we trying to aspire to, and how seriously do we take ourselves and the people around us? You know, it's funny. Well, Brian, let me just throw this out because it's funny. Do you know how nobody on this show is 18 years old? I mean, Rhonda's the only one in her 20s, but we're all older than 18. And isn't it funny? Everybody in this show is smart. I respect you all. That we see these book titles and these things come out, and it's all stuff we learned 30 years ago. And I'm laughing my butt off because there's a book called Leaders Eat Last. Man, if I told you how many times everybody in my team ate, and I was grabbing a slice of pizza 11 o'clock at night, I wanted to make sure everybody else got taken care of.
right.
But I'm not crying or complaining. It feels great to lead people if you make them better and you feel like you accomplished something. But again, if it's the empty artifice of I want to be the big shot or I want to make more money, that's no good. Go ahead, and then let's jump to Harry and Don. Go ahead, my man.
That's why I was saying, whenever I meet folks, like aspiring, wanting to be a good leader is one thing, but wanting to be a manager is another. And it's like you said, anybody that's owned a business, you know, I have one now. Those of you on here probably either have them or have ran them. You know, like you said, the headache, the feeling of responsibility, the obligation you have to not just making sure your family eat. You got however many team members and employees' families that are depending on you and counting on you too. And that's not so. Sometimes I say to myself, who would volunteer just to do or be responsible for what I'm responsible for? But at the same time, you know, I embrace it. It's what I have elevated to, and it is what it is. But to seek out management rather than just aspiring to be the best that we can be, the best projection that we are. And like I say, where people want to follow. Think about generals in the military. The reason why their soldiers follow them is because they know that if that fight is going on, not only are they willing to go into it, they have before, you know what I'm saying, on the front line. So they're willing to go to battle with somebody that's willing to do any and everything they've asked them to do and can do it as well as them, if not on a higher level. But, you know, in a humble type of modest type of way that doesn't make somebody feel some kind of way. It's more inspiring than it is as a put down. So I was listening when Jeff had talked about leadership and management. I totally agree. They're completely different.
All right,
Right.
Mike, before I jump to Harry and then Don, of course, when you started talking, Brian, my ADD kicked in and a bunch of thoughts jumped into my head. So first of all, when you're talking about great leadership and you talked about battle, okay, how about George Washington? Here's a guy that fought a war against the most organized and best army on the planet, the British, had no ammunition, was leading with a bunch of guys wearing rags, no uniforms, nothing.
Yeah.
but led from the front, okay, and was willing to do what it took. How about the opposite example of McClellan? Anybody that's read my damn book, Inner Moron Demons, and if you haven't, you should be ashamed of yourself, particularly you guys
McClellan
listening on the
was-
broadcast.
Yeah,
Okay.
he was passive.
Well, you know, Brian, you didn't because there was no pictures of naked women. I know how you are. Married or not.
Yeah, but I know about McClellan.
Yeah. Lincoln is trying to fight a war to save the country, right? A house divided against itself cannot stand. And he's got a general who likes to do dinner parties, likes to say, like the salesman you're talking about, I'm the boss, but
Preston
didn't like to fight.
Lincoln.
He got rid of him. He brought in General Grant. The classic line was, are you sure you want to bring him in? He's a drunk. And he says, good, find out what he's drinking and let's get a gown for all my other commanders. And as far as owning your own business, last book quote, at least for this minute, my father said it beautiful. A guy came to him and said, Al, I'm thinking of starting my own business, but I got the new baby. He says, one good thing about working for yourself, you're not likely to wake up one day and fire yourself. Harry, we better start going because if I don't stop talking now, I'll never shut up. Go ahead, Harry.
Here's a
Let's hear something
definition for
about some
leadership. Leadership is not a title, but an ability to inspire followership. And I worked for probably one of the worst maniacs, egotistical person in 40 plus years that I was in the auto industry. You know something? There was no title on anybody's card from him down. If it snowed 15 inches, he was out there cleaning cars off with me to make sure the staff followed us to clean the cars off. And that's what we believed in. We're leaders. You follow what we're doing. Hopefully, we will turn you into a leader so we can promote you and push you. But we believed in no titles in our business. Nobody was better than anybody else.
Harry's point is you lead by example and you let the guys know I'm with you. Not you go, hey, Martin Luther King never once said we're in racist states. Good luck. He led. He was the front of every pack. And boy, that made all the difference in the world. Harry, that was awesome. Mr. Graham.
You know how, unfortunately,
unfortunately,
owners of dealership usually promote a salesperson to management when they're making too much money as a salesperson. And that happens all the time. And it's the wrong person to promote.
Well, Harry, but that's an illogical point because dealers think everybody at the store is making too much money except them. It's a pretty simple paradigm. Mr. Graff, you have lived a long and fulfilling life. Look, I sound like your eulogy now. Can you?
That last statement brings me to something I read that Brian had posted about the amount of general managers that were fired at the end of December last year.
Yeah.
How many was that, Brian?
75.
75. And I have read the 2022 NADA report for the industry last year on turnover, and turnover amongst general managers, was like 5%.
Mm-hmm.
So those numbers at the end of the year would have skewed the report if the report had been done in January.
Right. Yeah. Big time. 5%.
I have two friends that Larry is trying to place now that left voluntarily from organizations one's notorious, but the other one was relatively well run until the dealer started listening to people about liquidating his used car operation. In the third quarter, my friend I'm talking about Solomon. He was able to talk him out of it for 4 months, but by December, he had liquidated his entire used car inventory, wasn't able to buy anything else. Wow. And this is a Ford dealer, so Fords didn't have any cars, had some trucks. Not many.
Hey, Don, the only thing, as usual, everything you say makes sense, but I want you to shift directions briefly. As I continue to conquer the world and build the world's greatest recruiting and training company, I put training second, Brad, because I like to have you by my side there. I am going full non-negative because I'm not talking about this crew, but I am so tired of hearing people complain. They never heard of Eldridge Cleaver, who said, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem. So give me something positive, Don. Give me somebody that set a great example for you of leadership, either you personally or something you observed.
Don?
Done?
Oh, wait,
No.
before Don, let's all welcome William, who's here
Hey, William,
from,
what's up?
How we doing, guys? I saw the post that you guys were live, so I figured I'd just join in with you guys and at least
Cool.
take some of your knowledge.
Well, I don't know. Listen, as far as our knowledge, we went about 30 seconds and exhausted my knowledge. William, I see 809 credit, and that's awesome. Tell us a tiny bit about yourself and tell us some great leadership you've witnessed, either personally or somebody you admire.
Sure.
And thank you for joining us.
Well, listen, I appreciate being able to join. My name's William Granata. I've spent the last 25 years of my natural adult life in the auto industry. I've served in every capacity that you can sit relative to both variable as well as the general manager for 3 years for a large group that has now since dissolved. I currently live in the Arizona market where I spent the majority of my entire career, at least about 95% of it on the Eastern Seaboard. I am the owner of 809credit.com. It's a financial services site, similar to many other financial services where credit repair, restoration, things of that nature, funding. But naturally everything's always an evolution. So I'm always looking to continue to grow and put myself in and around people that have been in better places than what I've been, and just happy to join a discussion for whether it be a half an hour, or 15 minutes, whatever it may be.
Well, keep in mind, you said you're trying to get with better places. Remember, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, there's somebody worse off than you. So tell us a leader that influenced you in your life, or either somebody you observed or personally.
There was a gentleman that passed away over the last couple of years, so I'll give him some homage. His name was Steve McDonough. Steve was from the Boston region, and he owned a F&I consulting firm for a period of probably about 10 years. And there are certainly bigger firms than that. But when I think of a mentor, someone that pours into your life or speaks a word relative to this industry as far as automotive, I'm going to go with the gentleman named Steve just because he's passed away. And what he did was he took that 10 minutes. He took that 15 minutes. He took that hour. He would place a late night phone call, even if I didn't want the call, just to check in on me, right? The same way that a father maybe does with their own children. So this was an extended person that wasn't related to me, but took interest into my life. And spoke words of wisdom to me that sometimes I think that maybe we can speak into our own children, or that our parents have spoken into us. And then about 10, 15, 20 years later, we go, oh, okay, now I know what that meant. So
wait a minute, William. So you're saying that in your estimation, and boy, I think everybody in this panel is going to agree with you, a true mark of leadership. Hold on for 1 second. It's the great Damien Boudreau. Mr. Boudreau, I'm on a live broadcast, but I picked up because it was you. How are you, sir? Can I call? God bless you. That was Damien Boudreau. So one of the things that I think my new good friend William is saying is that a great mark of leadership is taking an interest in people without getting anything back. Saying, you know what, I'm doing this because it's the right thing and I'm ahead of the pack. Because the quid pro quo gets old really quickly. Is that basically it, William? You like the fact that you weren't paying him, basically the guy took an interest in you, and that's truly a quality of leadership. Not me. Joe Paterno, we love him in Pennsylvania. He got a little shaky at the end because he didn't reveal a guy that was a child molester, got sad situation. But he said it beautiful. When something goes wrong, it's my fault. When something goes right, the team did it. William, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. I love it.
Appreciate you for,
can I throw something at you, William, on top of that? Because we're looking to draw you into this, man. We love guys that are cool and jump in with us. It also involves courage. Brian and I are polar opposites who are twins. Okay, tall black guy, short Jewish guy, but we think exactly alike in the fact that every day we get up, we want to kiss the ground because we were born in the greatest country of all time. And it was based on people willing to die for what they believed in. Now we see people that don't even want to open their damn mouth to say what they believe in because they're afraid of getting shut off. So one of my heroes, and really anybody's hero that studies history, is Winston Churchill. Okay, you want some courage and some guts and some balls, there's no other word for it. This is the guy that said, bring the bombers in. We're never quitting. But what you may not know if you're not a history nut, and I got way too much time on my hands, is he had a tremendous love for the French people. He really did. And he really wanted them to stand strong with England so they'd survive. But they gave in to the Nazis. And he was, this is gonna make you all go, really? He was so worried that they would give up and let their navy be used by the Nazis because they had a great navy. He sunk the damn thing. That took some guts. We're talking about politicians here that can't even condemn whether you know you're a man or a woman, or that a guy as big as Brian Maxwell shouldn't be playing with a woman that's a foot shorter than him. So we know that leadership entails putting others in front of yourself, but also having the courage to take the fall. Who else has got a good one? Jeff, you look like you're itching to say something. Either that or you're obsessed with looking at yourself on camera.
I'm actually playing with my two cameras to see which one is my money shot, but no,
We got a budding. I'm talking with Granada about courage, and you're trying to be a porno star. What is it?
I don't know.
That's what I thought
know.
when he said. I thought that when he
know.
said money shot too. I did think that he said the money shot.
Wait, did you notice
not my
it woke Don
intention.
Graff up? Don went from being in
You
a
know,
coma.
I was
There's porno on
hesitating
this?
before because I was fortunate enough to work for Mr. DeFeo and other great leaders, you know, with Steve Califor as well. So I had some great mentors, plus the Mercedes dealer sent me to NAJ dealer school and started my career really being a leader. You know, so I've been fortunate to have 3 or 4 great leaders to recognize the talent that I had, although I'm relatively, you know, compared to to Larry, I'm a quiet guy in the corner.
Excuse me.
Mine was
Idi
my dad.
Amin was a quiet guy compared to me. That's not saying much.
My father, to me, I mean, obviously I've worked with a lot of really, really, really good leaders, but the best leader I know is my father, is my dad. He is one person, like he's tough as nails, but what the outside world don't see is my father is the most giving person. I'm not talking about to his children. I watch what he does, and I've watched how he's taken a man that graduated high school from night school, you know, worked as a mechanic for most of my life, self-educated person, but has created all types of branches where myself, my siblings, we have family members that were all inspired just watching my father's work ethic. I mean, one thing I always say that to this day, I have never saw my father ever call out of work a day in my life. His head would have to be decapitated before that man would miss work. And when he gave his word, that was his bond. And my father was one of the most mentally strong. He's still here. He's one of the most mentally strong people that I ever know, where, like I said, I see other grown men, college educated, successful businessmen that come to my father for financial advice, because he took his earnings from the city, parlayed them into annuities and other investments. And now my father he'll be 70 years old this year, house is paid for, all his cars paid for, got a few $100,000 sitting up in the bank. And this is a gentleman that graduated night school, and all he donates 2 days a week to the church now. And this is a man who will curse with the best of them, weed smoker, you know what I'm saying, a lot of my life, but turned it around, has inspired so many people. So I know we're talking about professional, but I would say the best leader that I met that has made it to where I live my life the way I do, and I raise my children the way, and has helped me create the business and the brand that I have, is my father, Robert Elmore.
How about a couple weeks ago, I was trying to make a point, and I said, as the Bible says, God helps those who help himself. And he called up Brian and said, tell him that ain't in the Bible.
Yeah, my father was on the show. Yeah, my father was watching the podcast. Yeah.
Larry, you talk about politicians. We probably went through one of the most difficult times in our times when we had the bombing, the planes into the World Trade Center. And Bush might not have been the best president around, but when it came to that time, he was the right man for the right time. He said, follow me, and he pushed us ahead. And that's what a sign of a true leader is, really, being able to get us through tough times. We could have crumbled then, and a lot of countries would have crumbled then, but he made sure we didn't crumble.
You know
Can we,
what's funny?
can we
here?
go
What
back?
you say-
Can we go back in
Funny-
history a little bit? Hold on. Again, he's got my brain working.
Uh-oh.
How about, and I know I lean conservative and Republican, but how about Franklin Delano Roosevelt? Here's a guy that's his uncle's Teddy Roosevelt. They got millions of dollars and he gets polio. That's the end, right? Nope. The man did everything he could to stand strong. The only president to ever be elected 4 times. And you talk about tough times, Harry. You're
Right.
pulling out of the depression where people ain't eating, and then we get bushwhacked by the Japanese and pulled into World War II.
You know,
So
I
once
mentioned
again, strength.
I mentioned the owner of my company, and I was his partner, and Larry was his partner in his Cadillac dealership. And Bill and I had our horrible ways at times. We sued each other. I left him. I walked out on a dealership, and at one point he puts his arm around me and says, "Har, I am proud of you." This is after we're going through battles. He goes, "You're going to win this lawsuit. It's going to take you a long time, and I'll outspend you, but you'll win it eventually, and you'll go broke." And I could say the same thing. Bill, Judy and I are broke. Judy's my wife. I need $50,000. He would have written the check because that has nothing to do with business. That's personal.
Damn.
And I learned so much from him of how to handle myself in difficult situations. He taught me a lot in life. I grew up with him.
Well, Harry, and I want to jump back kind of where we started. And I think we can all agree that all bosses aren't necessarily leaders.
No.
Most bosses.
If I have a
Most
boss,
bosses aren't.
well, if I have a boss, I need to respect him up here, but a leader I respect in my heart, right? Because it's just like that. And you guys said it, he'll write me a check, because we have a personal bond. Business aside, and it's hard to separate the two a lot of times, but I think a leader, to me and my mentors, it's because they took an interest in me, and still I have guys that, I started in the automotive application business 12 years ago and helped a guy launch a company. And he's one of my best friends. We talk like every day and we're always spinning ideas and got a lot of other things. But, the first thing, and Larry, you expound this, the first thing we talk about, well, did you get that spreadsheet done? No, it's, man, what's happening with your kids today? And Larry used the baseball analogy, perfect one, if you take an interest, I think, in people's outside of work persona, that's where you're going to gain respect from the heart.
Hey, it looks like William had his hand raised. William, did you have a comment?
Who had hand raised?
Listen, I think we've all had so many different people that, just like gentleman Jeffrey just said, sometimes the boss isn't really the leader, or vice versa. Personally, what I believe relative to this subject is, I think relationships matter so much. And in the age of 2023, where there's so much, and granted, I get it, we all self-promote to some degree, but there's so much self-promoting that I think sometimes we got to pay attention to who's pushing us along to the same degree as we're pushing them along, right? Prior to just jumping on this call, and this isn't, me pulling on my shirt or anything along those lines, but there's a gentleman who spent probably 60 years in this industry. His name is Al Jason. Al, if you worked in the Boston Metro Worcester area, was a top of class, A1, desk guy, general sales manager type person. And I've made it a point to stay in contact with Al now. And Al's, I think, 82. He's between 82 to 84. And I call Al every 2 weeks. And, Al's just one of those people. He still has it all right here, but from a body standpoint, he can't walk anymore and so forth. And I think that this is good to have a conversation about people that have spoken into us or shown us something, or have put us along, because it's so easy to just forget other people sometimes. or just use people relative to the currency that they serve in our lives today. And that's okay. Not everyone will walk with you for the time that you're going to walk this earth. But I think that sometimes there are those relationships that stay with us for a long, long time, as you guys said, and those are the special relationships. And it's even conversations like this that just bring that to mind. So that's all I wanted to share.
Will, you and I,
Well, if
you
it's-
know, you
and
and
if
I
it's-
got a chance to talk, Will, you know what I'm saying? Just off going on LinkedIn and, exchanging numbers and, texting and sending stuff back and forth and still on LinkedIn. So I always appreciate whenever you jump on and, you'll share something or you'll like something. Now you need to start posting 809 credit a little bit more because I don't get a chance. So I can show you some love, baby. I will send the love back. But let me do this since we're on this show and let's say somebody is hiring a manager right now. Or, when Don said that the NADA reported 5% turnover amongst general managers in 2022, that blew me away because I'm sure everybody on here has seen just on LinkedIn alone, you see I'm here, or I'm no longer there, I'm no longer there. But for somebody that is watching, that is looking to hire someone that is a good leader or somebody that could lead their team, what are some qualifications that a owner or a board or an individual should be looking for? What qualities, what things can people do to be able to weed out the pretenders and get to the real contenders who can make an impact as far as leaders in their organization?
Well, can I insert a question here, if you don't mind? Because I was
Sure.
thinking about when I started in my business, I had 2 mentors. And do we consider mentors the same as leaders? Because both of them
Yeah.
were vested
Well-
in my growth and my success.
Well, as far as on this, what I'm asking about is specific, like mentors are leaders, yes. But the question I'm saying for business, if somebody's looking to bring that impact leader in that needs to run their sales team or run their store, run one of their departments, whether it be parts of what qualities, what qualifications, how can they better identify that person that may have that it factor based on y'all experience in ownership and just with life experience in general?
Hey, Brian, how about they express a strong desire to work with the existing team and make them better rather than clean house? Because when you start blowing loyalty out of the water, a whole lot of everything else falls apart.
So you say hire from within first before you go
Yeah,
outside.
well, and if the concept is I'm going to take the people I meet here and make them better rather than replace, every week I get this and you get it. You're trying to get guys hired and they say, is it okay if I give 2 weeks notice? And I say the same thing I bet you say. Of course it is, because if you'll quit on that company that quick, you'll quit on this company. So you like people that actually think, let me think of my long-term thing and how I deal as a person with the people that I'm dealing with now. So I'm just saying.
I would say I respect that. I will tell you this, but I respect their decision. I just in my life, I respect when other people say that. In my life, I kind of live by the Napoleon mind frame, which is, I burned up every ship and every bridge where there was no way I was going back. You know what I mean? So I never really had that 2-week mentality back then. And then now, I've been self-employed so long, but that's why I say I respect it when other people want to do that. But my thing be time waits for nobody. And there, opportunity strikes, what you're going to do. You know what I'm saying? Now, if somebody's family members own something, or if they're in management and, they're key holder and it's put somebody in a spot. But let's face it, a lot of these folks is doing stuff in working places where they're not a key team member. They're not highly dependent on, and an opportunity presents itself. And people say, well, can you wait for me? And I think that's the problem where so many people are falling behind. Everybody's expecting other people to just give me a chance to get this in order before I do this. And, life don't work that way. You got to strike while the iron is hot. But I do respect them when they do say that.
Yeah, but if you're that quick to say the hell with it, I'm jumping, what's going to stop you from doing that? Your behavior is your behavior. Good, bad, or indifferent. I try to be the same Larry Feldman. I try to get a little better, but I strive to teach consistency. I try to do things the right way all the time. I've been doing this 11 damn years. I have never taken information from somebody where I don't repeat back to them their email and their cell number, even if it's on the resume, to make sure it's right. This way, they're not
Right.
trying to text a guy and they can't get him.
Right. A lot of times
if
it
you're
is wrong.
When you start sloppy, you wind up sloppy. And
Right.
if you're not showing any kind of loyalty to the company you're leaving, why would the company that's coming expect you to have any kind of loyalty?
I
Again,
agree.
I
I agree
think
with that.
I think
See,
what you're referring
that's what
to,
that's what I say.
what I think
respect
what you're
it.
referring to, Brian, is people that think I'm going to be here forever, and they wait too long, and they're in denial that time is passing by, and the next thing you know, 30 years went by, and they're still saying, "Well, I'm waiting for the perfect thing." Right? What do they say? Perfect is the enemy of the good.
I guess because I've seen the people that have given 2-week notice and it didn't matter. They still quit on the dealership with no notice and didn't care. And so I'm talking about in that genre, if we were talking about in automotive sales, man, I don't that 2-week, a lot of like I said, that's a whole nother conversation.
I'll tell you what, how about if we agree on this? If you're the right kind of leader, Rhonda / mentor, people don't want to quit on you.
People don't want to, yeah, right. There you go. Yeah, right. The fact that you're sitting there meeting with somebody else says a lot. But again, like, so let's just say let's talk to that person that doesn't have somebody within that they can build up that fast, and they really do have to go outside to hire somebody on. What are some of the things they should look for when y'all were running y'all dealership and y'all needed a sales manager or a GSM or somebody to run the parts department? What would y'all look for in an individual that would give y'all the green light, say, this is the best investment if we brought them on?
I got an answer to that maybe a little bit, but I would ask them, how many people on your team got promoted?
That's a good
How many
question.
how many people did you promote?
How many people did you develop?
There
Right.
you go.
How many people did you lose while you were the boss? How many
Right.
people stayed with you?
Yeah.
Or how many people left you to become managers somewhere else because you developed them? They couldn't grow anymore in your organization. That's a problem we have sometimes in our companies. There's no place for a star to go. There's so many stars in an organization.
See, I wasn't built like I guess I was built. I had to be the owner of mine, because just even the words when we say them, the word boss and manager, like I never in my life could comprehend how no disrespect, Rhonda, I never could comprehend calling another person my boss in my life, or especially when I had my sons.
Excuse me.
Like,
Didn't you just get married?
You'll learn, grasshopper. You'll learn.
End of story.
I wouldn't show her this broadcast.
We talk
my
about
brother.
professionally, because y'all right. She runs the show here, but like think about the terms we use when we tell somebody, "I'm going to be your manager" or "I'm going to be your boss." Like, to me, to change the relationships we have. That's why I know we use the word leaders, and even dealerships are changing them from managers to team leaders and stuff like that. Because even the terminology we use will trigger negative emotions and negative feelings in the people, because as a grown man that has a family, a wife and children, and you have to bring them into a room and say, "This is my manager, this is my boss," in front of your sons, like, how can any man be proud to do that? And so to say, "Hey, this is a team lead," or "I work with them," and any leader doesn't even want their people calling them boss or manager. They'll say, "Man, you don't work for me, you work with me." Even good owners.
Right.
You know, I love to do point counterpoint with you. So let me opine differently. You like that, Harrow opine? I threw that Socratic stuff in. Listen, first of all, as far as I'm concerned, you do what I do. We go out and people pay us to come into their place and find them people and train them. Would that be correct? You can nod your head. That's correct. Well, that means for that 2 days or that week or whatever, they're paying us technically. They're our boss. They're the guys that's signing their paycheck that week. The other thing is, Bri, just hold on 1 second. I'll call you right back, my buddy. I'm on a conference call. Right back.
Yeah, because and for the record,
Sorry about that. Well, hold on. It's important. It's important psychological. Hey, you know me. I always answer my damn phone. I is what I is. Listen, this is important. Okay. The reason I'm on this broadcast is I saw Brian Maxwell's video and I said, "I like this guy, cut out the bull." He saw me and said, "I like this guy, cut out the bull." And I don't mean this to be brag, and I don't mean this to be damning. I'm telling you the truth, my brother. Not everybody's Brian Maxwell and not everybody's Larry Feldman. There's people that want to be led they're not being disrespectful. They're not any less strong than us. It's just the way they're wired. They want somebody to lead them. So as much as it goes against our grain, okay, it goes against their grain to try to lead.
Oh,
Right,
no,
think
I
about
agree
it.
with you on that.
Think-
I'm talking
think
about
how many
from the
people-
leadership. I'm talking about from
Think-
that management position when people call themselves the boss or the manager to their subordinates. I think that when we talk about relationships, I think
You're
that's
talking about the semanticism of it, the term.
it's
But
not
that comes down to the insecurity, not of the guy that's being led, but to the leader. When you
Right.
have to constantly rub in people's faces that you have power over them, you're a loser.
right.
Because all you're trying to
Right.
do is make up for your own mental shortcomings, real or imagined.
Yeah, that's what
But-
I'm talking about. Yeah, everybody's not meant to be a chief. I totally get that. Matter of fact, my father taught me one thing. Most people shouldn't be in business. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Right.
majority of people should not. So on that part, you're right. I know, everybody can't be a chief, but I'm just talking about for those of us that are in positions where people do listen. Like I could just never tell somebody I'm your boss or I'm your manager. And if I have to manage you, I really don't need you. You know what I'm saying? And I think that's how you build winning teams. You want self-managing. You want a team of people that think like bosses. We all have roles. Granted, my name is on the company, but like you said earlier, Larry, and like I always tell people, they're the CEOs of the best business they'll ever own, and that's them. And so it's like when you said when we do business with dealerships, man, I don't leave my city. I mean, I'm paid weeks in advance before I go anywhere. Because I don't even if I'm doing a staffing or training, I'm paid flat rate weeks in advance. So when we get there, no, they're not my boss. We're doing business. We're business partners. I have an expectation of them that they're gonna give me a nice facility and they're gonna make sure that I got what I need in there. And I have a commitment to them that I'm gonna make sure their people perform. Or if I'm doing something where I'm bringing people in, I'm gonna do that. But on that level, that's just how my mind works with it. Because I can't even see them as boss. We're partners, if anything.
Well, the
Hey,
Hey,
hard
it looks
part-
like Molly has joined us. Molly, welcome to our broadcast. We're
That's
talking
my-
about leadership, what qualities it
She's not
takes
gonna
to
say
be-
anything. I think that's my wife.
You shouldn't have
She's
said that
spying-
stuff about
She's
being your own
spying
boss.
on you.
It's your
Oh my
boss.
Now,
God.
brother.
Now, to jump back to
What?
Larry's military analogy, I think, or Brian, possibly it was you, I forgot. But, a boss is going to be saying, hey, go do this, 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 basically pointing his finger, giving instructions. But a leader's going to be down in that foxhole with you, doing the same thing you're doing.
Right.
Follow me.
Yeah. And,
Right.
and that's, I think, again, I hark back to the word respect that I brought up before. How do you earn respect? Well, I want to help you get better, my underlings, and I want you, and great analogy, Brian, I want you to think like a boss,
Right.
because in my career, every job I've had, I've moved into management and I've been the boss and my card said manager, but, I never felt different than the guys I was working with.
It's like a
The
weird-
reason I got promoted is because I could count money better and I was more organized and I had ideas about how we could grow the business. So,
Right.
the owners would say, man, I need to move you up. But one of the other things, Brian, I wanted to say, employees or the guys in the trenches need to be empowered to make decisions.
True.
And not everybody is equipped for that. Like you said
Right.
earlier, there's people that want to be told what to do because, man, I'm in a foxhole. I'm freaking out. Leader / boss, whatever, give me instruction. What do I do? But
All right, hold on. Let's tie into what you're saying. So we're adding a couple more points.
You on there?
That great leaders have to be approachable, and you know what else they have to be? Adaptable. Because I'm a student of American
Flexible,
history.
you gotta be flexible.
Yep, and George Washington made every mistake you can make. If that fog doesn't roll in and cover his escape from New York, we're still talking with a British accent, okay? But he learned and he changed. He's the guy that developed guerrilla warfare. He knew he couldn't go one-on-one with a bigger, more organized army. So what did he do? He would attack. He went across the river at Christmas in Trenton.
Right.
It's one of the reasons we have a country.
First time
So
it
a
ever-
great leader has to be accessible, adaptable, approachable, and they've got to
Believable.
Believable. Boom.
Believable.
Yeah. Hey, that's a good
Believable.
point. Right? And then you talk about Washington. I mean, even him, let's talk about why he's revered again. When they were even thinking about names and they were considering it, you know, His Holiness or all of these different names and president. And then he said, you know, let's keep this 2-term. Everything he did was gave the perception that he was trying to deflect power, which is what made them want to give it to him even more. Now,
King
whether that
George-
was just a
King
great
George said,
psychological tool or what, but
King George, it blew his mind because he was the first person since Cincinnatus in ancient Rome to step down from power. You know how leaders got rid of? They died,
They
they
died,
were
yeah.
assassinated.
Yeah.
This is the first guy that said, I got full and supreme power, I'm giving it up. He says, if he
for his
truly gave it
love,
up,
too.
he's the greatest man in the world.
Hmm.
But yeah, you're 100% right. You got to be believable. You've got to respect the people under you so you win their respect, not you
Right.
force it down their throat or, hey, call me boss.
Mhm.
Really good points. Rhonda,
Yeah.
you started talking about your mentors.
Well, I was
Let's
thinking
hear about
about I was thinking about two men, and this was back when women were not supposed to be working. We were supposed to get married. If we were working, we were supposed to leave the job and get married. But both of them went outside of themselves to lift me up, to train me to the next step. They got nothing out of it. It was something they wanted to do because they saw something in me that they knew I wanted to go somewhere. I didn't just want to be stuck. A coworker, happened to be a man, was perfectly fine as being an employee. So although they had respect for him, they recognized that, you know, this was his self-imposed limitations. He did not want to grow in the job. He wanted to stay where he was. So they had a different relationship with him. We were all friends. You know, we would all do anything for anybody. That wasn't the issue. The issue was these guys. I was 22 years old. These guys, you know, it was last week. These guys were bringing me up in the industry in a business that I was just breaking into, and knowing that someday, and it wasn't too far after that, that I went out on my own.
And Rhonda,
right,
I have
hold
to
on.
say, for you
Hold on,
being
hold
such
on.
a
Brian,
keyboard
let's
warrior,
type-
I gotta give Rhonda her props. For you being such a keyboard warrior, Rhonda, your nails look phenomenal.
I just did
My
them.
God,
I sat here and
your nails look
Oh,
great.
yeah, oh yes, this man is recently married. He's throwing every compliment at a woman he can. Listen, let's
Brian,
correlate.
you got to understand, Jewish women have to have their toes and nails done.
All right, whoa,
My nails.
let's not get
Religion.
ethnic. Listen, we just revealed another point of great leadership. Okay, I don't think before today William knew Rhonda or Rhonda knew William, but they're both pointing out that when someone takes the time to inspire you and help you move forward, it stays with you forever.
Forever.
Because William's thing didn't happen last week, and Rhonda's thing didn't happen last week, but it'll be indelible with them till they leave the earth.
Right.
What does a great leader do? He puts something in your heart and in your head and inspires you. You could hear William almost tear up when he was talking about his mentors. That's how much they meant to him.
Mm-hmm.
That's how much they meant to him.
If I
That's
can-
terrific.
If I can just jump in, you know, Larry, I've only talked to you one other time in my life, but I think I talked to you for about 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, could have been less. And Brian, I think me and you have only probably shared some texts. We've never talked live until this very moment. But when you can feel the energy and the spirit of someone, you know whether they're real or not. So Brian, going back to kind of what your question was at first, relative to, you know, what are some of the traits or things that you look for in people? And one of the things that I kind of blurted out, Larry, while you were speaking was, are they believable? There are plenty of people that can regurgitate and say things back to you that are learned, but is that person actually operating in the spirit of being whatever it is that they present, not only professionally, but personally? You know, it's kind of like what I look for, you know, and everyone has their own different faith, but it's kind of like what I look for in a pastor, right? I can tell to some degree if it's like when people say, if someone talks long enough, they'll reveal themselves to you, or if people show you who they are, believe them.
Yeah.
over enough of a period of time, if you give someone that proverbial stage long enough, you should be able to know, and by watching and by listening, how real is this person? Where is this person's heart at the core of it? If you strip everything away, who are they as a person? So that's what I look for in any organization that, you know, I try to tie myself to. And I think that it's unfortunate in the state of the auto industry. You know, they say, you know, come to the council of your elders. Well, in my respect within the auto industry that I've spent, where I could raise my hand and say maybe where I've needed help, but I don't really think so. Is I've told the truth in some situations where the truth was not the popular answer.
Right.
The truth. They didn't
William,
want
that's because they had to edit the Bible. The
Right.
full quote was, "The truth shall
read
set
the
you free.
apocrypha. You want the truth.
The truth shall set you free, but it'll also get your ass fired." So
You know,
Jeff looked like you had a question. Jeff, go ahead.
well, the reality, and I'm trying to kind of just summarize here, and this is great dialogue. I'm enjoying it. But the reality is, you don't have to be the boss to be a leader.
Right. Yep.
Right.
That's a great point, Joe.
You know, and I mean, look at Maverick. He was a captain, you know, test
Right.
movie, Top Gun. He was a captain, but did he get a lot of respect because of what he did? And he was in the trenches with his team, right? Even though they shunned him at first, you know, because he was gray like me, or getting there. But, you know, you can be a leader in your own bubble and in your own department. You don't have to be the boss.
Right.
You know?
You're right
And-
about that.
Again, being a leader, yes, we'll get you promoted. Hopefully we'll get you more money. You know, we'll let you move up if that's your goal and what you want to do. You know, I always, and I've said this to Larry, you know, when I talk to clients, I don't necessarily want to go dealer by dealer. You know, I want to talk to the dealer group. I want to hunt elephants.
Yeah, no, I agree with you on that one.
Yeah. And, you know, because none of us will live long enough knocking on doors dealer by dealer for anything that we sell or we're involved with. You know,
Let me ask you, how do y'all think about this? Do you believe that, looking at how business is evolving, and I haven't quite seen it hit the automotive industry yet, but I know it's coming. You know, we're getting to the point to where people being promoted is not going to solely be based on merit. It's going to be based on diversity quotas, right? That's coming.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I don't know how that's going to work. You know what I mean? As far as that's no shade towards anybody that's anything, but it's coming. What type of impact do you think that's going to have on the industry? Positive one? I mean, because let's face it, some of the parts of the industry needs to change. You know what I'm saying? Some of the terminology, some of the things, it's time for them to evolve. But I still believe people getting promoted should be based off merit rather than diversity. And that's whether that's an
100%.
affirmative action thing or a DIY, whatever it is. I still believe that if I'm the most skilled, the best qualified, I should get it. I should not miss the opportunity because I'm not a female, or because I'm not a white guy, or because I'm tall, or whatever it is. It should be based on, am I the right person for the position?
Wait a minute. Maybe you're wrong, Brian, because Camo only got in because he said he would get a black woman. And I mean, let's not pick on her, even though she makes Sarah Palin look like Eleanor Roosevelt. You know what I mean?
Hey, everybody's going to be replaced by bots anyway. 5 years.
That's not true, Harry. There's no bot that could be as mentally unstable as me. My position is secure, brother.
I think the diversity is going to end up being mediocrity on every level. I think you see it in universities right now, where they hire professors based on diversity. The kids are suffering, the students are suffering.
Rhonda, it's Rhonda. Go farther. It's going to be the demise of the country.
Absolutely.
We've always been a meritocracy. It's been the kind of place where,
and we are not.
You can be a different religion, a different color, a different country, and if you worked your butt off, you could do whatever you wanted. You don't have that in Cuba. You don't have that in other places.
Right.
And when you remove merit, how about the nonsense where they give every kid a trophy? So you're teaching the kid that The kid that sucks, don't practice harder. You're still getting a trophy. And the
Right.
kid that's great is discouraged because there's no, and we all want recognition. I
Right.
don't care who the hell you are.
It's
You
true.
want that recognition.
Yeah, you're right. And that trophy thing, that was luckily my sons was right before that, so I didn't get a chance to even be a part of that. But I'm like you, I think it's creating a generation of people that feel entitled. Well, that's where people say, well, I come to work every day, I should get a raise.
That's right.
Dude, you're supposed to freaking come to work. No, you get a raise because you bring more value. You know what I'm saying? I was stressing that.
Excuse
to a
me,
group
we
of
have a
six
teacher who wants to make a comment.
Is that
Also
Miss Judy?
my
Hi,
wife.
Judy.
Judy, okay, how you doing, Judy?
I'm a retired teacher of 40 years.
Can't hear you. She needs the mic.
I absolutely cannot stand.
Now we can hear you.
Every kid has to be treated like they're God.
Right.
Horrible, horrific thing that has ever happened to our society.
Mhm.
Yeah.
1 year I was teaching kindergarten and the principal said, you have to play games, only games that everyone feels like they're a winner. I played wonderful every friggin' day and I made sure every kid got to lose.
Judy,
I
if
can't
you're
stand
talking,
it.
if you're talking God, Brian's father is very religious. So I wanted to say, being Jewish, Brian, inform your dad that scholars have now proven that Jesus was definitely Jewish because he lived at home till he was 33. He thought his mother was a virgin and she thought he was God.
I love it. I love it. But
Hey,
you're
now
so
that's-
right. We have this generation of parents coming up. It's not just this generation, it's a generation right before us. They have ruined our children. I mean, our grandchildren too. I mean,
My grandchildren
see everything.
suffering, yes.
I mean, I see like I say if a kid takes a shit, their parents are like, yay,
You get a
Yeah.
star on your chart.
it's
There's a
just-
trophy.
Crazy.
everything's amazing. Everything's amazing and wonderful. No, life isn't amazing and wonderful. And you have to learn how to
How to lose.
lose.
Yep.
And that's it.
Adversity develops character or reveals it, but when you remove it from the equation, you've got a country full of people that want to cry and complain and moan and groan. How the hell can colleges be squelching free speech when the only reason you send people there allegedly is to open up their minds?
Right.
My-
It's crazy.
Our cousin.
Well, colleges are a whole nother story when you pay
Yeah.
a football or basketball coach $10 million a year and the guy sitting in a lab comes out with a cancer cure and makes $100,000.
Right.
Where's the priorities left?
That's insane. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That's-
Our cousin retired. She was brain professor, a medical professor at the University of North Carolina her whole career. And she retired early. She couldn't, parents were emailing her. This D is going to ruin my child's chance of getting into medical school and being a good doctor. And the dean was making her remove the D and put C's and B's. She said, I'm done. No, and that's on the college level.
That's crazy.
All right, you said
Well,
enough.
I'm done.
Goodbye.
That's 44 years. I can't do that. If I do that tonight, I get slapped. So,
Wait,
yeah.
Guys, it looks like we've reached the witching hour.
That was fast.
I humbly ask everybody that was here this week to join us next week. We appreciate your efforts, your input, and we'll come up with a dynamite topic next week and engage every one of you. We appreciate every one of you. Any final words there, Brian or Rhonda?
Again, I back you up. I appreciate everybody chiming in. Excuse me for my 1 week hiatus with the wedding. And then last week I had messaged my counterpart over there and told him I had something going on, but wedding's behind me. You know, my schedule's back in full effect. So I look forward to seeing everybody next week.
your life
And
is
Rhonda,
behind
thank you for producing everything.
Thank you, everybody, for coming. It was a great session, and look for the replay tomorrow or pass it on to your friends if you want. We try to post it Thursday morning after the Wednesday night. Hope to see you all next week.
Yeah, I got to get it so I can put it on my YouTube channel because you know what I'm saying. I get some traction.
I'll send it to you. I'll send
Okay.
it to you.
Everybody
Bye.
stay healthy and thank
Thank you,
so much.
Rhonda.
Y'all have a good night, man.
Good night.
Time me to eat dinner now.